This isn't the political climate to be saying stuff like that.
What if a shark f***ed an octopus?
No, you've actually been playing with the whale's cock and balls.
The only person I know that came back from that was Uncle Fester.
Welcome to Mystery Theories, the show that explores all manners of the mysterious, from the mundane to the problematic. I'm West, and tonight with my co-host CJ, we'll be exploring the theories and evidence surrounding the deadly Bermuda Triangle. In the end, you'll have the chance to cast your vote and decide which is the most convincing mystery theory. CJ, how the heck are you? How are you doing?
I am fantastic, West. What mysteries are you going to take me on to tonight? What adventures can we get into?
Before we get into today's mystery, have you ever been on a cruise line of any kind?
No, I've never been on a cruise ship or anything. The only thing I would tell you that the closest thing I could say to being, other than having my own boat, is like going to Staten Island and riding the Staten Island ferry.
Okay, I mean, that's a white trash carnival cruise of sorts.
Yeah, but you can get a Foster's beer off of that boat, man.
Anyways, where I was going with this is that if you've ever been on a cruise line, you may have passed through the deadly Bermuda Triangle.
Hell yeah! Oh, stoked about this one.
Now, first off, so hopefully I didn't f*** up the bit this time. So,
where do you think the Bermuda Triangle is? I don't know. Is it on the side of California where the triangle is?
Oh no, it actually isn't there this time. So,
okay.
Do you want to tell me where you think it is, CJ?
Right there. Yeah, I feel like that's where I would want to say it is.
Okay, you're wrong, but you're not too far off. Let me so let's switch over to the thing here. So the three vertices are Miami, Puerto Rico, and Bermuda. And Bermuda apparently is part of the UK. You don't really see it. Like on a world map, you're probably not going to see that island. But those are the three vertices, right? But you're in the right kind of area.
Nice.
Now, the term Bermuda Triangle was actually coined by a writer called Vincent Gaddis in the cover article for the 1964 February issue of the magazine Argosy. Draw a line from Florida to Bermuda, another from Bermuda to Puerto Rico, and a third line back to Florida through the Bahamas. Within this area, known as the Bermuda Triangle, most of the total vanishments have occurred. What is there about this particular slice of the world that has destroyed hundreds of ships and planes without a trace?
Kaiju, man.
This isn't the political climate to be saying stuff like that.
No. Kaiju are like fucking Godzilla and King Kong.
Oh, okay. So Vincent Gaddis quotes hundreds of destroyed ships and planes. That's a little bit of an exaggeration. In terms of like documented incidents, there are 20 plus incidents of airplanes disappearing, 50 plus documented incidents of ships, and that culminates in over 1,000 people disappearing within the Bermuda Triangle. So it's not hundreds, but it's like a lot of people, and that's just the documented cases. So there could be, I mean, there could be tons more that we just don't know about or didn't make it to record,
Yeah, dude. The only person I know that came back from that was Uncle Fester.
Wait, is that part of it? That's part of the plot line? That's part of the lore?
Do you remember the first movie? Yeah, Uncle Fester got lost in the Bermuda Triangle.
The Bermuda Triangle is a very strange and mysterious place.
So thousands of people died. They're like, they just can't explain 20 plus airplanes, 50 ships, and 1,000 people.
Where did they all go? Well, let's examine the evidence. First up is the Ellen Austin. So the Ellen Austin was this like large cargo ship. They were sailing from, I think it was England to New York, and they came across an abandoned ship. They watched the ship for a few days just to make sure there wasn't any kind of like funny business going on. But after watching it for a few days, they decided that it was totally abandoned. So they pulled up next to it and they sent a skeleton crew of their own men over to this abandoned ship. And then I think they like tied it to their ship and they kept on sailing for New York. They're basically like, oh, hey, free ship. This is cool. So as they were sailing, they enter into a storm, right? And then after the storm passed, the ship got disconnected. When they finally found it, the crew that they had put aboard the ship had disappeared. And then they put a second crew aboard that ship. And after another day, they disappeared as well.
Oh, that's weird.
Next up is Christopher Columbus. So it turns out stories of weird incidences in the Bermuda date back all the way to Christopher Columbus's original voyage across the Atlantic. So a few things that Columbus reported was a fireball in the sky, malfunctioning compasses, and a strange light above the ocean's surface. Saturday, 15th of September, and on this night, at the beginning of it, they saw a marvelous branch of fire fall from the sky into the sea. So some people suspect that was probably a comet. Monday, 17th September, the pilots took the north, marked it, and found the compasses northwest at a full point. So taking the north basically means like pointing the ship towards the North Star. Yeah. So when they did that, it was off of true north from according to the compass by a full point. 8th of October, a light above the ocean surface. It was like a small wax candle that rose and lifted up.
Can we talk about one thing?
Yeah.
Christopher Columbus looks like Tim Curry. That is goddamn Tim Curry.
All right, I don't know if that's CJ. I don't know if that's totally relevant.
I'm afraid he's going to do the time warp in a second.
Yeah, it's funny whenever any Bermuda Triangle video, like when the topic of Christopher Columbus goes up, they always have to make a point to be like, and fuck Christopher Columbus because he was mean to the Indians. So fuck him. And I was like, we're gonna be the channel that doesn't do that. But then you go ahead and you say that he looks like Tim Curry, and honestly, I wasn't
being mean to him about
that. That's way meaner than what the lady boys over at BuzzFeed said about him. So this is just a few other like honorable mentions. In 1918, the USS Cyclops, which was a U.S. Navy cargo ship, she was sailing for Baltimore from Rio de Janeiro with 309 people on board, with over 10,000 tons of manganese. The USS Cyclops never reached Baltimore. No radio messages were ever received. No trace of the wreckage was ever found.
What the hell is manganese?
It's like a Japanese comic book, I think. I don't know.
Manganese. Yeah, I don't know.
In 2015, two 14-year-old boys, Austin and Perry, boarded a small boat and left the coast of Florida to fish in late July of 2015. Although their boat was found off the coast of Bermuda 1 year later, the boys were never seen again.
2015, that's not that long ago. So for me to better understand that, was it a small boat? It had to have been, right?
Yeah, it was like a smaller, I don't want to say it was like a speed boat, but it was like one of those kind of boats.
I know how that shit goes. 3-hour tour. They're probably on Gilligan's fucking Island right now, making coconut bras.
All right, so here's the big case, right? This is when people talk about the Bermuda Triangle.
This is it.
This is like the big case, which is Flight 19, and this occurred in 1945. On the afternoon of December 5th, 1945, Flight 19, consisting of 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers, departed from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, on a navigational training flight. The flight became disoriented, and the first indication of trouble came around 4 p.m. when a radio message revealed uncertainty about the instructor's position and the direction of the Florida coast. We don't know which way is west. Everything is wrong, strange. We can't be sure of any direction. Even the ocean doesn't look as it should. And that was the last broadcast from that flight. And despite extensive search efforts, no trace of Flight 19 or its crew was ever found. What's almost even more interesting is that they sent out a search and rescue plane, and that plane also disappeared without a trace.
Yeah.
So here's the flight plan. So number 1 is their airbase in Fort Lauderdale, and they were supposed to go from 1 to 2, and then 2 to 3, and then 3 back to 1. And I think somewhere between 2 and 3 is where they got lost or something happened. So 4, that circle is that's where they ostensibly like the area where you would expect to find them. Like if they crashed, that's probably where they crashed. 5 and 6. 5 is where the search and rescue plane took off, and then 6 is where they think that that plane may have crashed. But don't you think that like one of those, like some part of those planes would wash up on shore at some point after 60 plus years?
I don't know. How deep is it there too, right? Like at the end of the day, it could be a couple miles down underwater, and there's a possibility that it couldn't come back up.
So those are a few of the more interesting cases. So I think now we're at the point where we're going to discuss some of the theories on the Bermuda Triangle.
Holy shit, here it comes.
Theory number 1 is the weather. This theory posits that like most of these disappearances are just due to bad weather.
Okay, that's a pretty good theory.
So this is what the hell are we looking at here? This is hurricane paths. As you can see, hurricanes love the Bermuda Triangle. So the Bermuda Triangle is obviously like the weather there can be very tumultuous.
That's crazy.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if this is a totally comprehensive outline of hurricanes. If you told me that all hurricanes come from Africa and they just decimate the United States, I'd believe you. But like, that's also seems like something like a neo-Nazi would come up with. Theory number 2, magnets.
Now, are we talking about like cartoon magnets where there's people holding them up while people are flying by, or
No, we're not talking about Acme magnets. We're not talking about Wile E. Coyote. Is that theory
Tom and Jerry?
Wile E. Coyote is just stand off the coast of Florida with a magnet pulling people towards them? So magnets, how do they work? So let's talk about Bermuda's magnetite. So what's unique about Bermuda is that most magma that forms these islands comes from the Earth's upper mantle. The magma that formed Bermuda came from a layer beneath that. And that layer is chock full of magnetic rock. So Bermuda has a very unique property where it's basically made out of magnetized rock. And over time, water has eroded these islands and basically spread out a mist of magnetic material around the area of Bermuda. And it stretches about 120 miles.
That's a huge area of effect if you think about it. That would explain compasses being boned up, and that would explain airplanes being off course. I thought it was a Pokemon, Magnetite. The fucking island's built of these magnetites and magnemites
and to be totally honest, and just to be clear, I'm not ready to write off the fact that Pokemon aren't responsible for the disappearances of the Bermuda Triangle. All right, theory number 3, giant waves. So this is getting into this phenomenon, a somewhat recent phenomenon known as rogue waves. They gain scientific attention through the Dropner wave. So the Dropner is this natural gas drilling platform out in the middle of the ocean. It has some equipment on it to measure the heights of waves. And in 1995, it clocked a wave at over 84 feet. Which is
holy shit. That's like a skyscraper, dude.
Also much, much higher than scientists thought waves were capable of being. The rogue wave theory basically posits that these huge waves were responsible for capsizing these ships.
Also, if those airplanes were flying low, right? If those airplanes were flying low to the sea, that could hit a plane too, easily fuck up a plane.
Yeah, you have to be flying pretty low. But I like this theory. I mean, in terms of things that could be responsible for taking all these guys, it seems totally plausible. All right, theory number 4, methane explosion. Methane, commonly recognized as the colorless and odorless gas that we use as natural gas for heating our homes, can pose unique challenges. In specific instances, methane sediments trapped at the ocean floor can be released, leading to a substantial release of methane into the air. Given its high flammability, contact with a plane's combustible engine could result in an explosion. Underwater explosions of methane create sizable sinkholes at the surface, with the potential to engulf large ships beneath the water.
Yeah, but that wouldn't explain those fuckers not knowing how to move the ship.
I don't know, maybe they all got high off methane gas and just jumped off the ship.
Somebody lit a candle and fucking they exploded off the ship.
Theory number 5, time warps and vortexes.
What did I tell you? Fucking Tim Curry, dude. All goes back to it.
So let me introduce you to Bruce Gernon. Bruce Gernon is an American pilot that reported that from a flight from Andros Island in the Bahamas to Florida, he and his father entered what he later described as a mysterious electronic fog. Gernon's electronic instruments ceased functioning while inside the fog. Once he was out of the Bermuda Triangle, the cloud disintegrated. When his instruments worked again, he realized that he had traveled 100 miles in only 3 minutes, and he landed 30 minutes ahead of schedule. By Gernon's account, the fog practically teleported him.
He was high. Look at his pants. Or they're listening into the fucking Grateful Dead with their Infinite Jan bands just going, and they're like, oh, this was supposed to be a 10-minute song. Turns out Jerry Garcia was playing the guitar for another 30 minutes.
Once I entered it, something immediately happened. These strange clouds formed along the walls of the tunnel, and they were hovering a few feet above the walls.
I don't know how you fly through a time vortex and then have the most uninteresting interview ever.
Doctor Who doesn't come out of the fucking TARDIS and he's like, cool, that was fun. See you later.
So finally, we have theory number 6, sea monsters. You think there'd be a ton of instances of sea monsters in the Bermuda Triangle, and there virtually isn't any at all. I did find one called the the Luska. So in Caribbean folklore, the Luska is a name given to a sea monster said to exist in the region of Blue Holes nearby Andros, an island in the Bahamas. It is described as a giant octopus, a giant cuttlefish, or a half shark, half octopus.
Sharktopus.
It's a sharktopus. A sharktopus for the rest of us.
That's a fucking crazy looking sea monster, man.
Those are the best ones, though. It was sort of like, let's just take two things we know and put them together. And they're like, all right, what do we got? Shark, octopus, bing, bang, boom. Put them together. Bob's your uncle. We got a sea monster.
Some dudes in the background, and they're like having a brainstorming session. And the one dude's like, yo, man, what if a shark fucked an octopus? What would you get out of the deal?
Jerry, we make calculators. Why are you talking about this stuff?
And then he's like, and then in the background, all Jerry's thinking about is like how the parents are watching the Sharktopus grow up, and like he's like going to Sharktopus college.
Sharktopus gets denied going to art school, so Sharktopus turns into Hitler, Sharktopus, or whatever. So this is like the closest thing that that area of the world has had to a sea monster sighting, which is the St. Augustine monster. So in 1896, the remains of a mysterious creature washed ashore on the coast of Florida. The decomposing carcass was 18 feet long and 7 feet wide and weighed a staggering 5 tons. Witnesses reported the creature had 4 stumps from tentacles.
1995 analysis conclude that it was a sperm whale.
That's like borderline. This is like the Joe Dirt moment for scientists. Like you thought you had like a giant sea creature, and it's like, no, I've actually been playing with a whale's cock and balls for 3
for
years.
at least a couple days.
Piers, we've made it to the part of the show where you have to decide which theory is the most convincing mystery theory.
You know, to me, weather and giant waves kind of goes together. Shit happens. There could be a lot of things that happen. You know, magnets. I like that theory with that just spreading magnet across the way. Of course, that would screw up any of your compasses and all that. So, like, to me, that's an interesting theory. Methane. I don't think that would have enough, other than the fact that it could create a sinkhole. It doesn't have enough for me to be like, oh yeah, that's what's doing it. It's over 1,000 people went vanished from this and stuff. I just don't think methane's the culprit on this one. Time warps. Dude's not convincing enough. He just comes in with a half-ass theory, and he got high with his dad in the fucking plane. I would love for it to be a sea monster. A nice Cthulhu just fucking everybody's day up. If there were like multiple sightings of like, you know, oh shit, we saw like tentacles coming out, that would be what would make it for me. I would like to say it's that, but I'm leaning a little farther away from that one. So yeah, to tell you the truth, where I would go with, I think the top 3, a little bit of all those columns, I'd lump that together. That theory's together.
So a lot of people, like the skeptics, the Bermuda Triangle skeptics, would say that the area of the Bermuda Triangle isn't actually uniquely dangerous in terms of statistics compared to like other ocean bodies. I think what throws that off is like rampant piracy in other parts of the world, which isn't so much of an issue in the Bermuda Triangle. There really isn't much of an excuse for anything to be happening in the Bermuda Triangle. Ships and planes just keep like disappearing.
Well, that's because these Somalian pirates are fucking afraid to go to the Bermuda Triangle because they're going to disappear. They are fucking like, we can't Captain Tom Hanks this. We're not going to steal that person.
Yeah, well, they saw that movie with Tom Hanks, and they're like, we ain't fucking with these white boys no more. Let's stay away from the
Bermuda Triangle. So to me, that sounds like that's the safest passage people can go to.
Final thoughts, parting thoughts?
No, quit mating random things with one another and making these weird fucking abomination babies. Keep your sharks and octopuses separate, all right?
Unless they're married, in which that's a different conversation.
And it's consensual.
And it's consensual.
Don't force these sharks and octopuses to bang.
Jerry, for God's sakes, man, can we just focus on the calculators?